Yeah, it's good to see you, Matt. We have an install schedule based on how we're, able to install in the spring. And there's a rhyme and reason and kind of the cadence behind what concepts go in when. So it kind of builds on itself. It's about a 10 to 12 day process, and then you start to kind of revisit. Now again, I've been saying this since we got here, like if we're doing something we don't get it, like we're not going to the next thing. So, really if after day 4 or 5, all the concepts are in, so it's not like you're in a hurry to get all that stuff done, but you're just trying to introduce them to those things so they can build on it over time. So we feel good about it.
Chris?
I heard that Mazi came back at 326. Is he where you want him to be, and how critical is he, especially with your limited depth up front, to your success this year?
Yeah, Mazi's had a great offseason, and he's in a great state of mind. Talking to him, I think he's ready to roll, and we're counting on him to have a great year for us, a great training camp. I think he had a great spring. You can see his take off, and he has a great trajectory to him. So we're expecting a lot out of him, and he looks great. I think he's ready to roll.
How about Chris Hinton?
Chris is the same way. I forget what was the hiccup in the spring, but towards the end of spring, he started to catch on, and it's a little foreign to him, the things we're trying to teach him to do and train him, but he's a talented guy. He's very sharp, and he's another guy that we're really counting on to hold down the middle of our defense for us. So excited about Chris.
On the left, Aaron?
Mike, how much input is Jim giving you in practices and meetings from a defensive perspective?
From a defensive perspective, I wouldn't say he's in the nitty gritty, but he does a great job of kind of illustrating the big picture on how he wants to operate, and you kind of give us the direction there and when we take the ball running. And there's constant communication between him and I and the rest of the coaches about what we're trying to achieve, and he sets a pretty clear picture, so makes our job a lot easier.
How much have you found yourself leaning on him at all, if at all, for anything?
It's a case-by-case basis, but I know he's a tremendous resource every time we've talked about certain things, but it's kind of hard to, what comes across your desk each day is a little different. It's hard to anticipate, from a day-to-day basis, but when something pops up, he's been a great resource so far, and obviously he's been through it, and he's done it at a high level, so been really very helpful for us,
On the left, Austin?
Mike, what's the terminology you use for your edge guys? Do you call them outside linebackers? Do you call them edge rushers? And the two sides, are they basically interchangeable, or are you looking for something a little different on one side versus the other side?
Yeah, they're essentially, the number one thing they do is really what a DN does. When the guys play on the edge of our defense, whether you call them a linebacker or whatever you want to call them, some fancy name, everybody has some fancy name for some outside backer, look, man, set the edge, okay? We want you to rush the passer, and when we ask you to drop, don't screw it up. Don't let the guy run down the middle of the field, man. We're not splitting atoms, So there's a certain temperament and intensity and violence that we expect them to play with, and I think we got a really strong group of guys that we're asking to do that, have that skill set.
On the left, Nick?
Stick with that though, Mike. You said we're not splitting atoms, but you're coming from a team that had a defense that was very unique and did a lot of different stuff, and kind of relied on guys that were capable of doing some of that stuff. What's the balance been like for you here? That's
right.
The roster's different. You guys have limitations. You have strengths in some areas, weaknesses in some. What's that been like?
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a misconception, is that you look at the Ravens defense and what Wink has been able to do with the rest of our staff the last few years. You're like, man, this guy's flying all over the place. And that's kind of what we're trying to create here. But I think the secret sauce is that it's really not that complicated, So again, it's just different concepts layered together, where we're trying to create complexity to an offense, really trying to make the offense's QC a living nightmare. Because I've been there. They got to drop all the blitzes and stuff, and not a fun place to be. So
All the way in the back, Ed?
Mike, can you just talk about the process of getting to this point, getting hired, everything you have to go through, learning Ann Arbor, learning this place, and then on top of that, just your excitement level, your joy, your enthusiasm to get going tomorrow?
yeah, that's right.
And getting married, too.
And getting married, that's right. Yeah, shout out to my wife. True rock star. Man, it's been a whirlwind. I'm not gonna lie. The last 6 months have gone by like that. We have a saying the days are long, but the years are short. Really, the half of the year has been extremely short. But there's a process. Anytime you go to somewhere new, there's a process of learning how things operate. We weren't really afforded the luxury of being able to sit back and seeing how things, and being able to listen. So that's part of the process, right? When you kind of go somewhere new, trying to talk to the people. Hey, you know, what do you see, how'd you see it, what would you change, what'd you like, what you didn't like, and you're trying to kind of synthesize that, you know, over time. So that's just part of the process, so maybe it didn't go in the way that you anticipated, you know, taking over a new job, but, you know, this is something that you gotta be able to deal with. In terms of this training camp, man, I mean, look, I've been telling guys, like, I haven't been in it long, this is like my 15th year coaching, something like that, but I mean, this is the most excited I've been for a training camp. I'm ready to roll. I mean, it's time for ball. Like, it's time for talking, man. Look, I love talking to you guys, but like, the time for talking is over. I mean, it's for us to go do it, and I think our guys are ready to do that, so.
On the left.